Hey, hey, hey. It's
Hey,
just being the
hey.
Joneses.
What up, y'all? Just being the
Just being
Joneses.
the Joneses.
Uh, uh,
Just being the
uh, yeah. Come on.
Joneses. We are back for another episode, and we actually have guests this time who
Returning
I,
guests.
is
Returning
they
guests.
are no strangers to the Just Being the Joneses podcast because they have been on here before when we were on YouTube. Well, we still on YouTube, but when we did video recording. So it's the Williamses. Why don't y'all just tell the
Hey,
people who?
hey, everyone. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Rashad.
Mhm.
We are the Williamses, as April put it. Thank you for having us back, both of you. Thank you for having us back.
No problem. Always a pleasure. Great to have y'all back.
So should I have said the Williams?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So we are happy to have our friends join us today as we talk about marriage and being ready for marriage. Cause of course, you know, with like the divorce rates, which I heard is going down, which is a
Going
good thing.
down?
Yeah.
What?
And
Ooh,
everything.
that's good.
Being ready for marriage is very, 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 very important. And we've been married, boss and I, for going on 15 years in a few months.
Yep.
Woo!
And how long have y'all been married, Danielle and Rashad?
It'll
Get
be
ready. It'll be 4 years
come May.
come May.
4 years come May.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, we all at some point made the decision to get married.
Yes. Question is, being ready for marriage is the thing, and that's a good question and a good topic. Being ready for marriage. Um,
Yeah.
for
So,
myself, this is my second marriage.
mhm.
Um, I wasn't ready, let alone sure about marriage the first time around. However, with this, with my second marriage, although I'm accounted as my first, wink, wink.
I do the same thing. This is my first. No, I learned a lot
um,
from that first one though.
I knew I was ready this time around. Um, it was about 2016,
Mm.
and I wouldn't say it was just the influence of my friends. It was who I was around and seeing what they've been through before getting married and finding a person to love them no matter what they went through in life and
Hmm.
still being there for them. And it's also maturity as well. You grow and learn what you would and would not do if you decide to get married again.
Yeah, and I think that like it's two. It's kind of like two parts of being ready. Like first, being ready to be married, because you can be ready to be married and don't have a clue who it is that you're gonna marry because you're not even in a relationship, right? But knowing that you're ready for that, and then there's being ready for who you're gonna marry.
You said you're not in a relationship?
Yeah, you can not be in a
Yes.
relationship and be ready to be married.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I heard that was love at first sight and married at first sight. I thought that's what kind of shit she was kind of referencing, but
No, I mean
my
like
bad, my
you
bad.
like for me, even after like I got divorced the first time or whatever, I knew that I wanted to be married again,
Yes.
and I knew when I was ready to be married again, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I knew who it was that I was going to someday be married to again.
Hmm.
Got it.
So
Same here. I was the same situation because this is my second go around. I had my practice wife, and I learned a lot.
Not practice wife.
There was an experience. You know what I'm saying? We had some good times though. I called her my practice wife, but we had some good times. I ain't got nothing really bad to say about it because every marriage has their ups and downs.
mm-hmm.
No matter how good it is, how good it appears to be online and all that stuff. Everybody marriage has their ups and downs, and and that's
Yes.
what makes you stronger when you work through those things, and that's what makes your relationship stronger, and it makes you a better person. Um,
Definitely.
But yeah, I was when I was dating also same thing like you just said, April. I also wanted I knew I wanted to be married again. A lot of people thought I was crazy. They say no, you don't got married once, it ain't work, it ain't meant for you, and all this stuff. You know how people talk and they just say whatever they think they say what they want to say and project it onto you. But that wasn't for me because I knew one day I wanted to
Whatever they
give it a
feel,
whatever
they
they feel
project it.
they
Yeah.
projected onto you, and so I knew I wanted to be married again. I wanted to give it a go because I was still pretty young, and I feel I had a lot to offer for some woman, and so
Which
I
that woman happens to be me.
happened to be you. It just so happened to be.
Oh goodness.
And so and here we are, happily 14 years later, and I was still run it back and do it again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like, especially with guys, I think that with women, it's like a lot of women they start fantasizing about marriage when they girls, right?
Right.
So like, as far as like, and that's just kind of the picture that's painted,
A
and
fairy tale wedding.
all of that. But as far as men are concerned, sometimes I'm like, okay, what the big question is like, how when you got married, right,
Right.
fellas? Did you know you was 100% sure that you were ready for one to get married? For two, this is the person that you really 100% that you wanted to be married to, and um, like because sometimes people will say the cold feet thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you kind of it's not that you don't want to or you're not ready. Maybe sometimes you might have like those thoughts is
The second
if this
thoughts.
will work out or
Right.
if it those little anxieties and stuff that pop in
Yes.
and
The
stuff
little
like
questions.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
questions and
little
stuff.
fear.
So and I think that's normal for all of us to be honest. Even though even if we want it, it's normal to have those thoughts. But like, how did y'all know that it was like, okay, I'm ready for marriage? It was it after you met the person that you was gonna or start dating the person that you married, which would be me and Danielle, or even about your first wife or whatever. Did y'all was it not until you actually knew that you was ready to marry that person, or you was already ready to be married again before you got in that relationship?
Well, I definitely can say, because speaking for me, this was my first marriage and only marriage. So, the one thing that I was already ready. I was preparing myself to be married. So in my mind, I was already saying, all right, what is the key things? Now, are you going to know everything prior to getting there? No. But in my mind, I felt like, okay, I'm ready for marriage. I'm ready. Not, I can't say I was 100% because, you don't know what you're going to get when you get in
And
it.
none of us
So,
ever 100%.
yeah, it's so anybody who said, "Oh yeah, I'm 100%," I've been ready. No,
Oh.
it'll never be that. But I was probably close to it because for one, I had certain things that were revealed to me about a wife and what it was going to be like, or who it was going, or not necessarily who it was going to be, but kind of what she would look like, or whatever the case may be. But for me, it was more so okay. All right, stop looking at that. Prepare yourself for marriage. What would you do? Are you patient enough? Are you sympathetic? Are you loving? Um, all those different things, aspects. I always, critiquing myself just by looking at others and watching other marriages and how they have progressed. And I look at that and say, all right, what to do, what not to do. All right, write that down, not to do. These are the things that, okay, these are triggers that your spouse could be. And you
Yes.
can sit and say, are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for your wife to get upset because of quote unquote her time of the month, whatever the case may be? Are you prepared for that? Some ain't prepared for it. They kind of just sit there and say, "Ah, I'm good," and then your wife, next thing you know, she got them hormones raging, and you just sitting there saying, "What you gonna do? You gonna run and jump in your car and drive off, or what?" It could be anything, or you gonna be one that's gonna sit there. I'm here, or whatever. So all those things you have to be. It comes into account when preparing for marriage. And for me, I just felt like I was probably really close to just saying, yeah, I'm all the way in.
Right.
But it also depends on the woman too.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
here. Both times in my marriages, I knew that I wanted to get married. I mean, like we said, you don't know if you're 100%, but you
Right.
like, well, it's high enough to where I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot at it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which for me is in the 90s. If not 100, it is in the 90s now.
Right.
Okay.
All that marriage just because I like you.
Right.
I do believe that I mean I will be in love if I'm marrying, and it will be real. It's real love. I'm not playing games. If I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and put my heart into it. Do everything I'm expected to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, both times I knew I was ready, and like you, Rashad, I was also preparing myself in a way throughout my life. I seen people growing up that they weren't doing things that they should have been doing in their marriage correctly. And I'm talking about men in my life who I've
Mhm.
seen growing up. And so I learned from that at a young age and said, okay, well, I know not to do that because my
Right.
wife is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I mean, just we all prepare ourselves differently, and we do what works for us. And yeah, I definitely understand what you mean by that. When you're preparing yourself, say, hey, this is what you need. Also, talking to God as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just seeking His advice and just hoping that He guides you in the right way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And
and
that he
you
will.
will. You know what I mean? And He will guide you in the right way. So you just gotta
Right.
pay attention and listen, and find your wife, find your bride.
Yep.
I can definitely agree with you there, boss. We're saying paying attention and listening to God when preparing yourself for your spouse, for both men, husbands trying to find their wives and wives, waiting for their husbands.
Hmm.
I can say with the journey I had to get where I am with Rashad, if you told me this, if I had to go back and tell myself this is what the journey is going to be, I wouldn't believe myself, my current self, to go back then and say, Danielle, stay on the path. It's going to work out. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not how I want my life to be.
Yeah.
um,
And that's
but
like when I was for as far as like I would say with my first I was 19 when I got married the first time.
okay,
So I would say the reason why I would say that I wouldn't necessarily say even at a young age I wasn't ready for marriage. I hadn't experienced a whole bunch of life, of course, but I will say that I was able to be a wife at that time because I knew what a wife, what of course the wife is going in a relationship is gonna look like whatever this relation you design your relationship to look like and your marriage to look like. But I knew that I can be married and I could be faithful and I could be committed and I can be what it was that my husband needed me or wanted me to be. But it just wasn't the right person. So it's like I had everything to give, even though I had a lot of growing to do. Like, so as far as like whatever
right,
I did have to give, I would say that it was enough to be married
Hmm.
and be in a committed marriage. But it was not for the right person, right? It wasn't
right,
to the right person. So I was in a marriage being a wife to a person that wasn't necessarily a husband to me. So
got it.
in that instance, everything I learned, all the lessons that I learned, all the growing that I did from that time, from 19, now I'm 45 years old. There's a whole lot of lessons and growing that you learn, and what I did know to prepare me even for the marriage that I'm in now, that once I was no longer in that marriage, I was like, I'm one of those people that don't like repeating the same things that does not make sense or does not produce good
Ooh,
things.
Yeah.
So
I'm right there with you.
yeah. So therefore, I knew what it was. I was still ready. I'm like, I'm still the type of person that's prepared for a man to be a wife to a man, but a different type of man because
Yes.
of the type of person that I am. you know. So therefore, I deserve to be with somebody and be able to give everything that I have to give as a wife to somebody who's able to give back to me what I deserve to have. So it's like, yes, I am ready for marriage, but I'm ready for this type of man. So in that instance, it's like, okay, these are all the things I can date somebody, or I can see go out with people or whatever, but these are the things that they don't possess, so I know this will never be my husband. Right? So then
Right.
at that point it's like, okay, now my old friend of mine that never do you know he was already in the background of my life. He was already in the background of my life.
I was lurking.
You know,
I was like,
Lurking.
You know,
already in the background of my life
open
while
up the
I was
bush and be
like
like this.
seeing people.
Peeking.
While I'm out there seeing people and things like that, it's like, okay, he's still out in the back. And at that time, that's not the person that I was, even though I was thinking marriage. And that's what I mean, like being ready for marriage, but not knowing who you're going to be married to. Because I was ready to be in a committed relationship again at some point. But, you know, after I had already, grown from a certain place, I knew what it was I wanted and didn't want,
mm-hmm.
all of these
Right.
things. And now, it's like, even though this person back here lurking, this is my friend, and I have no clue this who my husband gonna be, right? And it's
At
like,
all.
At
Oh,
all. It's like, yeah, I know,
oh.
I see you back there, but you're not. No.
but that's what ended up happening, right? So it's like we was being prepared, obviously, for each other, right? So while he was
Yeah.
doing his preparing or whatever he was doing,
Yeah.
and I was doing my preparing or whatever I was doing, and sometimes preparing looks like um recognizing that these are the things that I don't want,
Yes.
or this is who I want to be when I show up in this
Yeah.
relationship.
Getting ready for
So a
getting
lot
ready
of
for the
times,
real thing, huh?
right?
Yep.
Because a lot of times people think about like, oh, these all the things I want in a person, but they don't think about who they are. Who are you? You're gonna show up in this marriage. So who are you? How are you presenting? How are you going to present in this marriage when a argument happens, or you know somebody who knows what might happen with your finances, or
Right. Health
what
wise.
happens when health things, yeah, when children might come into the picture if there's not, and stuff like that. Like who am I ready to show up, still be able to show up through the things that are gonna the challenges gonna that's gonna present in this marriage, and who am I gonna show up as? And
True.
that takes knowing yourself to know these things.
Yeah.
True. I remember hearing from different types of, I want to say influencers or maybe public figures, when it came to marriage. It said, "Would you marry yourself? How are you expecting to have all this long laundry list of what you're looking for in a partner? Are you willing to marry yourself?" And it's like, no, I don't like this, and this. So how do you expect someone else to like it if you don't like it?
That's a good point there. I like that.
Yeah,
Would you marry yourself? Because that says a lot. If you
Yeah.
answer that truthfully to yourself,
Yes.
times in my life, yeah, I just when I wasn't looking for marriage, shoot, no, I wasn't married. Ain't no way in the world I'm married that dude. That dude
So
amazing.
at some point you have to sit and really look inward and like, okay, who am I really? Am I presenting the person that I want in a spouse? Will they like me as I am, or are they going to like the representation that I'm giving them?
mhm, exactly.
And am I going to be ready for the real life of a marriage, not just the wedding dress and the all the other stuff? No, like, okay, are you ready to get down to it where I'm without a job or without a car, or I'm not feeling my best? Are you
Yeah,
going to be able to handle more? Is more pretty much marriage is more going to be more than just 50-50. It's going to be 100 on both sides, but somebody may not be 100 one time. It might
Yeah.
be just all on you.
yeah, that's right. Because it ain't always 50-50 and 100,
Mm-hmm.
And like I saw somebody saying one time that they were married and they had been married for some years, and they husband had never saw them without a wig on or whatever, right? So, and I'm like, you kind of think of it in a way of what you were saying. It's kind of like a mask in a way. Like, who am I 100% me? Like, am I comfortable showing up 100% me in this relationship? Is this person 100% comfortable with who I am, who I really am? And how is that person
Exactly.
going to be truly 100%? How will I know if they're, or they will know if they're truly 100% okay with who I am and comfortable with who I am and loving me for who I am if I'm not showing up 100% authentic in this thing.
Exactly.
So if like
Yeah,
if I can't take my wig off, whatever, because
that's
I think
that's
or
saying
whatever,
something.
let's like okay, so I'm really truly not showing up as my authentic self in
Exactly.
this relationship,
No.
right? So that's just parallel to other things like internal things too. It's just not like a representation of okay how this person looks on the outside, but on the inside, are you showing up like I like a lot of times people will, oh, I want to try to keep down the confusion in this relationship, because I don't want them to think that I'm being argumentative or I don't want to turn this person off or da 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 da. But you are practicing to not show up and be honest and open with your feelings and your thoughts and stuff like that. And you should want to do those things to see how this person resolves conflict and
Exactly.
how compatible you are with resolving conflict. Because if you sit on that until y'all get married, eventually something is going to show up and you're going to learn during your marriage like what this person really like doing this high conflict or something like that. So
Hmm.
Right.
it's like you gotta be prepared, and that's just like I was telling y'all about the guy on okay, we were watching Love Is Blind,
Right.
and the guy on there, he when he got to the altar, he basically said no because and everybody was expecting this yes from him, but he basically said no because you know what, he was like, I'm not ready to get married today, but I do want us to still, basically he was saying he wanted them to still be together. He just wasn't ready in that moment. He felt like he needed to do some therapy, work on himself. He had some trauma from his childhood, da 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 da. And sometimes you can think that I'm absolutely sure this is what I want, and then when you connect, and that's what I said, being ready for the person that you're with, because you could connect to this particular person that all these things start coming
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was that all of these things start coming up, and then you're thinking it can even be the type of person, not necessarily that they're triggering you in a bad way, but there's this the caliber of a person that they are triggers like these little fears and stuff that you have, because it's like, am I
Exactly.
able to be everything this woman or this man need for me to be in
Deserve.
this or
Yeah.
deserve in this relationship? So maybe seeing who this person is now, I thought I was ready, but I'm not as ready as I thought I
Hmm.
was. And of course, a lot of people was jumping all over him, and they felt like he was, oh, you this, and you was playing her the whole time, and da 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 da. But what, as a woman or man,
Hmm.
if somebody was to sit you down and say, hey, you know what, I want a future with you, but I cannot commit to a marriage with you right now because I got so much stuff that I need to work on, like, could you respect that? Because it's like, do you want to be connected to a person who got all this trauma, unresolved trauma, and need healing, and they telling you this, and you just like, no, let's do this anyway? Like, what would?
I would rather not because like in that guy's situation, Clay on Love Is Blind. Yeah, he was right there at the altar, and everything was looking like it was gonna go 100% their way. Like you were gonna see them married, but he said no because basically everything April just said, and he was saying that basically I need to work on myself so that I could be a better, the best version of myself for you that you deserve. Because he loved that woman and he wanted her to. Well, he didn't want anything from his past to hinder
Their
The
relationship.
marriage.
to make a bad relationship. He wanted their relationship to have a better start, and I guess with the belief that having a better start, of course, the foundation will be set. It'll be a better foundation for your marriage, and I think that's what he was
Okay.
trying to do. And he knew that he needed to work on himself
Uh,
for her and their marriage.
that word foundation you use is a good one because it's super, super important to like
Very
think
important.
about that when you say, okay, I'm ready for marriage. Like, how am I going to lay the foundation for my
Yes.
marriage? What is this foundation going to look like?
Yep.
For because
Yeah.
sometimes people get married and the foundation is weak. You know what I
A
mean?
weak,
It's weak from the
yes,
beginning.
weak
Because guess
foundation.
what? You got married because somebody said y'all should get married. You got married because somebody was pregnant.
Pregnant,
You
yep.
got married because you thought that,
Because she was fine, and you
Yep.
Oh,
wanted to. That's a weak
And
foundation.
you don't want her to get away, so
And you
you
don't
just
want her
go
to get away. You know what I'm saying?
you just letting her go ahead. Hey, hey,
Yeah, you know,
I'm gonna
we
bag this one up. She
can
too
run down
beautiful.
later.
Yeah.
Right,
um,
but
do
all of
you
these
think?
other these things, the reason why people get married, that's not necessarily strong foundational reasons for marriage.
right.
Exactly. Do you think people get married just because of the idea of being married, just to say I'm married?
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
I
People
think
do
I know
that.
somebody personally who did that. I think.
I think we all have a few people we know
Yeah.
that did
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Well, we gonna leave them people business
And
alone.
Oh yeah,
I ain't saying
we're
no
not gonna, we're
names.
not gonna say
I
that.
ain't saying no
But
situation. I think
But
I know
but
as far
yes, it does happen. Sometimes people. That's another one of the weak reasons why some people get married and they don't have that strong foundation. And it's like
right.
they jump into a marriage because it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I ain't thinking this whole thing through all the way because I'm set on getting married because a certain age, so I think I should be married by this time.
Hmm.
My family keep asking me, when you gonna get married? Pressure from them.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend got married, let me get married, you know what I'm saying? Or
ooh,
you
yes,
know whatever these reasons is, just and then sometimes you end up just marrying, because I think that even though I feel like I was ready to be, uh I can show up. It was like I said, when I was 19, I could show up in a marriage for, as who I was fully, whatever I was capable of showing up in, I could show up in
right,
that capacity and be a good woman to somebody. But the man that I chose is because I got married to him for the wrong reasons. So I
got
can actually vouch for that. Did I love him? Yeah, I did. But at the same time, just because you love somebody don't mean that that's the
no,
person you in love with somebody, and
Hmm.
that don't mean that's the person you need to be marrying. You
True.
know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
True.
So I mean,
exactly.
I done love some other people in my day, but I would never have ever married them after what I experienced in my first marriage. So
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
so
Mm-mm.
Ooh.
yeah, so it can be tricky. But both
Very
people,
tricky.
Very
like,
tricky. Yeah.
it's important that both people are ready for to marry each other.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it definitely has to be a conversation long before you get to the altar to say I do.
I would say several conversations.
Several
Yeah.
conversations.
On
Yeah.
different issues. You know, what I'm saying financially. How do you, what are you gonna, what are your financial goals? I mean, saying, how do you feel about saving this amount of money per year, putting this amount of money of our income aside? I mean, all those type conversations. Friends. What kind of friends you like? Do you want to go to clubs or all those
Right.
different conversations?
Right.
Your
Right.
family background, like, is
Family,
there
yeah, family
any
background. I mean, all
ill,
kind of stuff.
all of the stuff like health issues, mental health things, and you
Yeah.
can be completely okay with marrying somebody who has some mental health illnesses and stuff, and that's fine. But you know what I'm saying, these are still things you want to know, and that you want to know if I want to, do this,
Hmm.
outside of that, because um that's very important too, especially when you're gonna have kids together, like all types of things. Like, it's like, okay, be open and honest and upfront
All right.
with all of your stuff. Like, don't let somebody don't get married to somebody and then you find out 1, 2, 3 years later these things that should have been, that you hid from them, and it should have been discussed prior to, so that person could have made an informed decision about whether they were ready to marry you, specifically. Because just because, like, you, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, that you can be ready to be married, but that does not mean you're ready to marry a certain person. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
and that is what I think was happening with Clay. He was like, okay, I might be ready for marriage. Sometimes I feel like I am, sometimes I'm not.
Hmm.
But am I ready for this person? Because
right.
this person is everything probably on my list. that you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
A hell of a woman.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And,
But
and
am I
so,
the person for the one I'm marrying?
yeah, so am I ready for that particular person
Mm.
too? Because
Right.
that's very important to be
Very much.
prepared for
I
that.
would say the other thing that's like very important is before you even get started, you putting God first
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
it, because I think there's a lot of people that gone into marriage, forgot God. Period. Didn't even put Him in there. By the time the turmoil started, it's too late. Everything's torn up. They kind of realize now that, man, our marriage was based upon sex, or it was based upon
Money,
somebody
Materialistic.
getting materialistic things and stuff like that, and it didn't have God. God could have possibly been fifth or something on that list, but if he ain't first in it, then it ain't gonna work anyway. So
Nope.
right?
that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
Because
point, man.
sometimes,
Good point. Yeah.
sometimes you could be absolutely. Sometimes you know what I'm saying, that this might not be the best. It's a difference between feeling like, okay, I'm ready, but then I got that little, like
The
y'all was
little
talking about, that little percentage, that little small percentage of good in my or
Doubt.
doubt,
Yeah.
that's like, okay,
yes.
playing around in my head, or just maybe not even necessarily doubt, but just a little fear,
Fear.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then, like, if it's just not. Sometimes you definitely know if it's not, um, like, and I think that's why. Nothing against anybody getting married young, because it's a lot of people that got married
Yeah. I
really
did.
young,
I was
and
Yes.
they
19.
relationship we know, but I'm talking about relationships right now that survived
Oh
from
yeah.
19. So
Okay.
there was a lot of people that got married young, at a young age, and they spent all their life together, and they were absolutely happy. Not
Yep.
saying it didn't come with challenges, because you're growing up together. You got these, stuff, but sometimes being able to make a mature decision at that time at that age is you
It's
know
very
Yeah.
it's very critical because you think you know it all
yeah,
Think you know it all. You ain't
and you
ready.
don't know anything.
yeah.
You don't know enough. Yeah.
Hmm. And you got to know
But
what
then
it all come along with.
sometimes all it takes is that one person. Cause y'all could have went in as ready as you could be. Like
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
me and my first wife. You know what I'm saying? She was good to me and I was good to her.
Hmm.
But then sometimes just that one person just if that one person gives up, then that's it.
Hmm.
It don't matter
Yeah,
how much the
Yes.
person is in love with the other person.
Right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? When that one, that's
right,
it. It's over.
right. Because you can be, like you said, you can be ready for it, but then you getting ready and staying ready is
Woo,
imperative to
Yeah.
keep it going.
Yes.
very much.
Like, you gotta stay ready every
Always.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Always.
Ooh,
Open
And
communication
that's
and
being ready
everything.
for everything that's coming with it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
indeed.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, because a lot of times, you got people that get married for different reasons, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it's for convenience, and
hmm
when it ain't convenient no more.
Like, I'm done. I'll walk away. I'm done with the marriage. It's not convenient for me anymore. Which
well, that pretty much goes into like someone that goes into marriage because of financial reasons, and
Hmm.
if that person, that main person that's holding the finances, they anything can happen to them, where they lose their job or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Then that spouse or whoever it is, they may sit there and say, "I'm accustomed to a certain lifestyle." That's gone. Then what's the use? Why are we here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're
And
right.
I'll walk away. Now there's been plenty that speak on it that says, I
hmm,
don't I had to leave him because
he
or
didn't have
him or her or whatever, and they didn't have the financial support that I'm used to or
Hmm.
accustomed to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at that point, you just like, well then, so basically you went for only a wedding. You ain't go for the marriage. That was the last thing that was on your mind. You just said, I like
yeah.
the glitz and glamour of this wedding.
Yeah.
I'm
What
happy
head
about it. This is what
head
I want
on?
to spend.
Yeah.
I want this type of ring. I don't care what kind of ring it
Woo-hoo.
is, but you're gonna give me this 2 and 3 carat ring. I'm telling you that. If you give me a half a carat, we got problems.
It
Hmm.
ain't happening.
And I was
Or
like,
some I did see,
Not even
maybe
half a carrot, just a ring from a store that I didn't tell you to get the ring from.
right. It was I seen one clip. I know it was some series or something like that where it was a husband, a wife was like, hey, we spending $250,000 on a wedding, and he was like, "No, we're not. I love you,
But
but
we're
we're
not.
not spending no $250,000." And she had a fit.
I
And
thought you loved me. I
you know
thought you
this,
said I
that, the
could do
third.
whatever
And
I
first and
want.
foremost, I'm not no just no ordinary B. I am the B. I'm looking like this chick crazy. Like you. Oh, that clearly gave an indication that's a big red flag
Big
when you
red.
saying, "Hey, I want my wedding to be this amount of money, and I want my ring, and I want it on the or wherever or the beach, and it's got to be, I mean, magnificent." At that
Right.
point, no, you care about the wedding. You don't care nothing about no marriage. Once that marriage hit, then what?
Yeah.
You still want the glitz and glamour after that.
So,
And you know,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we all know some friends that have went through all the way through the whole thing, got there, and as soon as you know the road is getting a little rocky, maybe finances not looking the same anymore. All of a sudden, more arguments are happening, and
They're
you
ready
kind
to
of,
walk away.
and at that point, they're pretty much done, and that was the primary reason for them getting married in the
That was
first
their
place.
foundation. That was
Yep.
their
Yes.
that
That,
the
Right.
yeah,
financial floor.
and it was
That was
pretty
their
shaky.
foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important too for every like for couples that's getting married or considering getting married to definitely go to some counseling, individual counseling, work through some things or talk about
Whew.
some things. Like it don't mean that you're crazy. It don't mean that
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, have to be traumatized from you know big huge things in your life, but just going to individual therapy, doing some couples therapy together. I think that's it good because I know I've had like people that just came and they were thinking about getting married. They were so I'm like, okay, let's start here. And we talked about a whole bunch of things,
Mm.
you know, like a whole list full of things. And some of the things they say, you know, we haven't talked about that, or we haven't thought about that. And it's just like different things that you may not even think to have a conversation about,
Right.
Yes.
you know, that could be a deal breaker.
Mm.
Right.
Or it could just be something that you already just done sat and thought about and talked through and processed. So now it doesn't become an issue in your marriage. You
Right.
know.
Exactly.
So yeah, so because those are things that was already you already kind of um conversed about and stuff like that prior to.
Right. But I know, speaking for us, you know, we kind of already just as boyfriend, girlfriend, or quote unquote fiance,
Fiance. Thank you, boss.
fiance. It was like we had kind of already talked about, you know, how the structure is going to be, or and whatever. By the time we went to therapy, counseling, we went to the counseling. The pastor was like, okay, you know, he threw a bunch of questions. We spitting, knocking them out the park. He was just like, whoa, okay, all right, this sounds good. Okay, what about this? How y'all feel about who taking over the finances? She came in and said half and half, or how would we do it? 100, 100. We help each other out. He was like, whoa, I like that. All right, write it down. Even it went down to like the little small things of, you know, what kind of fans are y'all? Do y'all watch? Y'all both watch football? Who do you like? Oh, well, she said I like the Jags. He looked at me and was like, mm, okay. Like it went all the way down the list. By the time he was done, he said, I'm just gonna say it like this: you're the third couple as many couples that I have
Count.
counseled.
Yeah.
You're the third that I can honestly say y'all ready.
Yeah.
Y'all ready to be married because everything kind of just was like
It
boom.
lined up.
Y'all was on one accord. Everything was like there was no like, "Ooh, what's wrong with you? What kind of answer was?" You know, you know that type of thing. So it was
Yeah.
it was it was it was great. I you know, just looking at your spouse and how they respond and how you respond and how y'all are like two peas in the pod. Y'all both
You know what
tight.
made it really, really important for you guys, just the same as me and Boss, because you guys were friends. So when you had that friend foundation,
Yeah.
it,
Definitely.
it was so many things that we had even talked about already
Yeah.
before we even was dating each other or before we thinking about or talking about marriage, like
All kind of stuff.
all all the
Oh,
things,
It's
whatever.
stuff we went through that
yes.
want to go through again. All that stuff we talked about as friends, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we
Hmm.
when we got together to just be better, be more as one. And I tell you, it's funny you say that about your pastor or your counselor you went to, because
Yeah.
it just no, just I would just say that knowing y'all before y'all got married, that I can know that that was real. You know what I'm saying? And in my eyes, y'all were ready. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can say that
Appreciate that. Thank you.
y'all were ready.
Hmm.
It wasn't. It just felt real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like y'all
Right.
been
Right.
together for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know one of the questions we were asked before we got married was, "Do y'all like everything about each other?" And that's a trick question. And we were like, "No," because no, you're not gonna like.
You can't answer yes to that question. Then they know
Right.
you're not ready.
That was actually a trick question because had we said yeah, that would have been an issue.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Because but that's another thing about being ready to be married to that particular person that you're marrying,
Yes.
because are the things that you don't like about each other should not be deal breakers, and it shouldn't be things that's going to tear you apart. It shouldn't be things that's going to cause these continuous perpetual arguments and conflict and things like that. Like it's you already I don't necessarily care for this particular thing, but I can
Hmm.
still love that person regardless of this small thing. But if it's some or this thing, but if it's something that you don't like about a person that you can that just gets so much under your
Uh,
skin that
Hmm.
you kind of dislike them because you don't like that thing,
that
then
shouldn't be a
or
deal
don't
breaker.
even go into
And,
marriage expecting it to change because you got married.
oh,
Right.
exactly. Mm-mm.
So yeah, be ready prior to.
Prior to.
Prior to
That's
lots and lots of discussions at different
yeah.
stages of the dating and courting, you know, relationship.
Yes.
Hmm.
Some people were like 3 dates in. Oh, I think this is the love of my life. I'm ready to get married. Hold that thought. Come
Yeah.
back in 6 months.
And you got to keep
Uh,
Time.
conversations going after marriage too, But
Right.
like
yes,
the things, keeping that communication open and talking about things, because as people grow or even age,
I
you
say
know,
grow. I don't
change.
call it growing.
What you say?
I say as people grow, not age, grow.
But
Because
age too, because when I say age, I mean mature and everything
You're
else.
right.
Like
Yeah.
you things change. About things about you change.
Mindsets change.
of course,
Physical limitations change.
Yep.
All kind of stuff change. Yep.
Mhm.
yes,
Yep. So,
Hmm.
and it's good to have somebody as you growing with you, because the one of the things that I've also seen is that when these two people married each other, they were both ready at that time being who they were, but at the same time, you know, growing, one just sits stagnant and then the other one continues to grow in
yes,
certain ways,
Mm.
so even personal development, the differences in personal development can cause a wedge in marriage. So those are all these things you have to think about when you're thinking about who you getting married to
Mm.
exactly,
and being ready. So
exactly.
Hmm.
yep. But I enjoyed this conversation
Yeah. Yes.
We
with
did too.
y'all.
We did too.
Yeah.
Always good to talk with you.
Glad we all three of us second timers got it right the second time around.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I know I did.
All I needed was one time.
Yeah. One shot.
Everybody else was sitting on the sideline. Nah, can't do you. Nope, can't do you either. Nah, that's
So
right.
yeah, and sometimes it happens when you're younger and you get married.
Yeah. It happens.
It may or may
Whew.
not
You
make
give it a shot.
you may or may not make it through the growing pains and the growing up through your twenties.
Right.
Hmm.
But kudos to those who did and happily and genuinely
Yeah.
happily
Yeah.
did it, because
Definitely.
I don't necessarily look at all real long term relationships as great examples.
No, they not.
Or as they call it, relationship goals. Now,
All
They should
great
have been
examples.
got divorced. They
So
holding on to for the Social Security benefits, waiting for
yeah.
somebody to
Yeah.
die.
till it die.
That's
uh,
okay, well, we are getting ready to log off of this episode of Just Being the Joneses. We thank you, the Williamses,
Williamses. Yeah.
for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure with you guys.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
And we are going to see you guys next time. Tune in every other Tuesday to Just Being the Joneses with Boss and April. And we out.